In some cities across the US, landlords are filing 50% more evictions than they were before the pandemic. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the fact that evictions are up. Okay, they are significantly up. Now, before the pandemic, evictions were at a certain level, and then during the pandemic, when they implemented all the eviction protections, the ban on evictions that made it so that it was very, very difficult for landlords to evict anyone. Well, they fell off a cliff, and there were only evictions in very limited circumstances. So it has slowly been building its way back up to the point where now we have a lot more evictions going on than they did before the pandemic. And what I think it is that a lot of landlords were delaying things as they were waiting for rental assistance money, as they were waiting for their federal, state, and local eviction moratoriums to end. And now we finally reached the point 3+ years later where things are going back to normal. So they are getting rid of those tenants that they've been waiting a long time to get rid of. And this is the end result. Okay, so I think it will balance back down, but hey, they should have expected this. They should have known that this sort of thing was happening. And this isn't necessarily bad either, because still, even with everything going on, the main reason why landlords file an eviction is because of non-payment of rent. And I'm talking about over 90%. I believe it was 92% of cases in a study that they did about New York City. And I know New York isn't the entire country, but you can look at its that data and say that this is probably true in the majority of the country, that 90% plus of evictions are for non-payment of rent, not for other reasons. So yeah, interesting thing, and I'm not surprised one bit. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Why do you think that evictions have just gone through the roof and are so much higher than they were before the pandemic? Do you believe that there's pent up demand? Do you believe that, hey, maybe current factors with the economy are causing more tenants to be unable to pay their rent? What do you think is the driving force behind this sort of thing? I'm just curious what other landlords out there are saying. Obviously, all of us have been through evictions before, and for all of my evictions, there always have been for non-payment of rent. Okay, so anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from apnews.com, and it says eviction filings are 50% higher than they were pre-pandemic in some cities as rents rise. And they, of course, wrote this article from the perspective of some poor, defenseless tenant, right? But as you read the article, you just see that, hey, yeah, the tenant's going through a hard time, but they didn't pay the rent. And that's the real reason why they're being evicted. So let's get into it. Entering court using a walker, a doctor's note clutched in his hand, 70-year-old Dana Williams, who suffers serious heart problems, hypertension, and asthma, pleaded to delay eviction from his 2-bedroom apartment in Atlanta. Although sympathetic, the judge said state law required him to evict Williams and his 25-year-old daughter, Demai Williams, in April because they owed $8,348 in unpaid rent and fees on their $940 a month apartment. They have been living in limbo ever since. So I'm going to go into this tenant story because it's quite interesting when you look at it, right? So they have $940 a month rent, but they owe $8,348. Okay, so how many months did they not pay rent? That's it. That's probably like 6 months of them not paying before the landlord filed eviction. So they've already had 6 months to get their act together. Then the second thing that I read in there that was interesting was this guy's got his 25-year-old daughter living with him. Now, yes, he is elderly and he might not be able to work due to his disability, and he's probably got limited income, etc. Social Security. But why is the 25-year-old daughter not working? What is she doing all day? She needs to get off her butt and go get a job. If they're about to get evicted, don't you think that would be something that you would advise? or is she just being lazy? I mean, maybe they elaborate more on that in this article. I don't want to go too much into it because I don't know their story, but the simple fact of the matter is, how generous does a landlord have to be? Okay, they already owe nearly $9,000 in back rent and late fees, etc. Nearly $9,000. This isn't somebody who's 1 month behind in rent and is getting evicted. This is somebody who is 6+ months probably behind, and they've reached this point now where, hey, the landlord just cannot take this sort of loss indefinitely, and they want to delay. They want the judge to delay it even more. And this is the kind of problems that you see. It's like no matter how much time you give them, they will never get their stuff together and be able to resolve this issue. So you have to force their hand, or they will drag it out forever. You will literally be paying for them to stay in your unit for the rest of their lives. Okay. They moved into a dilapidated Atlanta hotel room with water dripping through the bathroom ceiling, broken furniture, and no refrigerator or microwave. But at $275 a week, it was all they could afford on Williams' $900 monthly Social Security check and the $800 his daughter gets bi weekly from a state agency as her father's caretaker. I really don't want to be here by the time his birthday comes in August, Demai Williams said, but for his health, it's just not right. So he gets $900 a month of Social Security, right? Which, I'm fine with. Everyone is entitled to that. But then you read further and it says, oh, well, somehow they finagled it in a way so that his daughter is actually his caretaker. And then a state agency pays her $800 a month to take care of him. That sounds kind of, these socialist programs. I don't like them. I don't like this sort of thing right there, where you've got somebody you're paying. Like, if imagine if somebody paid me to take care of my mom, and they're paying me $1,600 a month, $800 every 2 weeks, just sit around my house with my parents and take care of them. That's ridiculous. Okay, you need to go out and get a job, lady. You're losing your house and you're complaining that, I can't afford anything because, like, listen, okay, you're losing your house. You're going to be homeless. You are homeless. You're living in this pay by the week hotel, and you still refuse to go get a job. Okay, even if it's part time. Like, if let's say you really are taking care of your dad most of the day, well, you need to at least go get a part time job and get out of this freaking hotel. I mean, to me, this just sounds like these people are very dependent upon the government to take care of them, and now they want someone else basically to handle all their problems for them. The Williams family is among millions of tenants from New York State to Las Vegas who have been evicted or face imminent eviction. After a lull during the pandemic, eviction filings by landlords have come roaring back, driven by rising rents and a long running shortage of affordable housing. Most low income tenants can no longer count on the pandemic resources that had kept them housed, and many are finding it hard to recover because they haven't found steady work or their wages haven't kept pace with the rising cost of rent, food, and other necessities. Homelessness, as a result, is rising. Protections have ended, the federal moratorium is obviously over, and emergency rental assistance money has dried up in most places, said Daniel Grubbs Donovan, a research specialist at Princeton University's Eviction Lab. And what they're basically saying is, hey, all those socialist programs that were created, they're gone. They're gone. Okay? We couldn't fund them forever. It cost trillions and trillions of dollars. And, they caused inflation throughout the entire country to skyrocket because, we had just countless millions of people who, rather than wanting to work, pay their own way, they wanted the government to take care of them. And that is the sort of situation that these rental assistance programs, that these eviction moratoriums, that all this welfare program nonsense, that's what this creates. It creates a system where, hey, it's easier for these people to, rather than go and get jobs, it's easier for them to stay home, not work, let the government take care of them. And then there's slowly going to be a dwindling number of people who are actually contributing to the system, paying taxes. And those people are paying hella high taxes. They're paying skyrocketing taxes to cover all of the social welfare programs for the people who are too lazy to go get a job and take care of themselves. And that's not what anybody wants to see here. So I'm not surprised that evictions are increasing. Okay, these programs have ended. Finally, it's a good thing, and it'll normalize. It'll go back down, and it'll probably stabilize. This isn't something that is going to last forever, but it's something that we've been expecting for a while.